Today we look at 5 jockeys who excel on the flat when the ground is riding testing. What matters more when the mud is flying? The previous record of the horse when running on similarly testing ground? Or if never before raced on testing ground, the record of the sire's offspring on deep ground, the record of horses from the trainer on testing ground, or the record of the jockey when riding on testing ground? Racing and betting, as always, involves multiple factors, regardless of the weather conditions, and undoubtedly the true answer to the what matters more question is likely to vary from race to race and meeting to meeting. Indeed, maybe I should be asking, are we adequately considering all relevant factors when the ground is riding testing? Heavy and or soft ground can produce strange results, and it can lead to periods where it becomes trickier to secure a consistent return on your betting activities. Unfortunately, longer periods of soft and heavy ground do seem like something we may have to get used to, so we need to make sure we have plenty in our favour when looking to source profitable plays in our day-to-day punting plays. The following table shows the number of races that have been run on soft or heavy ground during the last 10 UK flat seasons. As we can see from the table, it has been the last 2 flat seasons that have seen the greatest number of races run on ground officially described as soft or heavy. In 2024, there were 884 races run on such ground, whilst in 2023, there were 939 races run on such ground. The previous highest in the last 10 years was 820 in 2017. No other year breached the 700 mark. Whether it continues in such a manner, an increased number of races run on testing ground, or whether the last 2 years turn out to be anomalies, is essentially irrelevant. There will always be plenty of races that are run on testing ground during any given UK flat season, and it will never be a wasted exercise to have put in the study hours, making sure you have yourself primed and ready for the periods when the mud is flying. Back to the question in hand. Are we adequately considering all relevant factors when the ground is riding testing? I'm inclined to say no, we are not. And I think the area that is overlooked the most is the record of the jockey when it comes to testing ground. Like in any sport, some jockeys excel under certain conditions, whilst others struggle when faced with certain conditions. In this particular instance, it is the muddy leveller known as testing ground that can make some jockeys shine, and others, well, flounder about in the wet stuff. What follows are a group of 5 flat jockeys that caught my eye whilst I undertook a deep dive into the stats. Using the last 10 UK flat seasons as my basis, and looking only at races where the ground was officially riding soft or heavy. In this research, we list key names to watch when the mud is flying, and I also take a bit of a closer look to pinpoint specific area where their stats improve further. It is likely that these individuals, particularly those in more prominent yards, have acquired the necessary modifications to ride a horse effectively in the challenging conditions and position their mounts with enough left in the tank for the final stages of the race and the lung-bursting push to the finish line. Let's get started. Silvestre de Souza. Only 4 jockeys have ridden more winners under such conditions than Silvestre de Souza, which alone is quite remarkable, given the fact that the Brazilian spent a period of time racing in other parts of the world in recent years. His overall record is strong, but as always, things can be tightened up by adding in a few filters. Be wary of those he rides at really big prices. De Souza has banged in a couple of big-priced winners on testing ground, but generally they are best ignored, or at least treated with a level of caution, with the stats for the horses he rides on soft or heavy that start at an SP of 21 or are 26% below expectation. He struggles to strike at the same level in really large fields. You would expect the strike rate to dip a little when there is more traffic to navigate. But even with that in mind, the stats tell us that De Souza, testing ground and large fields, don't mix. I'd also drop horses that De Souza rides on soft and heavy ground that are older, as he doesn't seem to quite get the same tune out of those horses that have been on the go for a few years. Tightening the overall stats with the filters mentioned gives a 41% win and place strike rate and a £133 level stakes profit at Betfair SP to £1 stakes. For the remaining 4 jockeys and the rest of this article, please follow the link in the description to the full article.